Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to Alois and the cursed Typewriter. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones, as we return to the nightmarish landscape of New Arkham. Now, we've actually got a couple of things we need to cover real quick, so let's jump right in. First up, it is worth mentioning that the developers at Cultic Games just released the very first patch for Stygian. While it mostly focused on things like fixing bugs and balancing the current content, it also granted companions the ability to actually craft items for the player. With that in mind, I decided to go back just far enough to swap one of Sonia's skill points over into science instead. She'll never be great at it, but she will be able to craft an assortment of basic items, and eventually she'll be able to replenish our supply of low-caliber ammunition. Sadly, it's much too late for us to go back far enough to shift the outsider skill points as well, but we will put his future levels towards the medicine skill. Again, he'll never be great at it, but he will be able to treat injuries and keep us stocked with basic medical supplies. The last thing I should mention is that, aside from Isidore here, I didn't actually get a chance to do any trading between episodes. You'll see why in just a moment. Stabber! Arkham Stabber strikes again! Hey, you know who died? Another falls to the Stabber! God have mercy on us! Is that Julian? Poor boy. That heartless maniac killed him. Upon immediate scrutiny, you deduce that his wounds, which extend from collar to groin, were inflicted by a broad blade with a singular, almost preternaturally keen edge. Every single thrust perforated right through muscle, sinew, and bone. The Arkham resident is looking at the mutilated corpse as if hypnotized by the slowly burgeoning pool of blood that threads its way through the cobblestones of the doomed town. What happened here? The man suddenly starts shouting. The Stabber! The Stabber is killed again! Stabber? The Arkham Stabber. Where have you been living, sir? I think this is the third victim. All butchered, stabbed until they end up like poor Julian here. Julian? You know this man? He shakes his head. Not a bad fellow. Used to stay at the Essex Hotel. He didn't deserve such a fate. Nobody deserves. He looks at the hardly recognizable corpse on the ground in horror. That. Who deserves what they reap here? The man turns and looks at you. Although he remains silent, you sense his wordless acknowledgement. What do you know about this Arkham Stabber? Nobody has any idea who he is. Even the mob can't catch him. Some say he's a demon. Others speculate that he's a loony of the worst kind. How do you know the stabber is a he? I don't. He could be a she. Would only be fair after what those brutes did to all the... He becomes aware of a mob fist standing nearby. Never mind. I'd better go. Goodbye. As you're about to leave the site of the gruesome murder, you notice something odd about the hobo standing nearby. The man begins to shake as if in the throes of a seizure, and his pupils transform from black to a murky white. Abruptly, he kneels as if possessed by an unknown force, dips his hand in the blood pool on the pavement, and begins to draw a star-like symbol on the ground with the dead man's freshly spilled bodily fluid. As you are watching this scene in bewilderment, the milky eyes turn directly at you, and the broken man speaks in an ominous tone, completely alien to his appearance. Your path crosses with the dead one. This simple flight of a soul will uncover more. Well, that was odd. Let's investigate. The man abruptly comes to his senses and stands up looking puzzled. Seeing the state of his hands, he goes into a tizzy. What happened to me? Am I hurt? If you really want to know, an unknown entity has been using your body as a vessel. Your answer worsens his panic. What are you saying, mister? You mean a bad spirit? He looks down at his crimson hands once more before fleeing in terror. What does that make? 4 citizens I've terrified so far? Well, at least this one didn't die. Corley, it seems the stabber sent another fellow to the big sleep. Should I bring word to the face? You get paid to be this dumb, Marlin? He points at the corpse with his chin. Does this seem like a man of the face to you? No, Corley. Then think about it. Is it really necessary to take this to the face ourselves? Don't you remember how mad the boss got when that gumshoe Wilkins failed to find that psycho stabber? Wilkins? You watch the burly man struggle to compute the information. You mean that fatso detective whose arm we cut off? The one staying at the Eel? See, you can be smart when you need to. Then you must have been there when the boss got hot under the collar after that idiot Wilkins told him he couldn't find out who the stabber is. That was a lot of words at one time, Corley. Let me think. The boss got mad that day, So, do I takes the word to him or not? The man sighs deeply. Marlin, I sometimes sincerely wish I was a fucking wall, you know? He points at a nearby wall. Like that one over there. A simple, unpainted, indifferent brick wall. A wall? Why's that, Corley? So I could simply be, without needing to comprehend your bullshit, Marlin. The mob gun takes a deep breath. Look, I plan to not be around when the boss learns that the stabber psycho is still on a rampage. You better do the same. He looks at the corpse on the floor one last time. He's not one of us anyway, so who gives a crap? Let's beat it, Marlin. Turning to leave, the 2 mob men spot you standing nearby. What the fuck are you looking at, sheep? I heard the Arkham stabber struck again and came to see for myself. Well, this is not the Arkham Ball or some damn fairground attraction. You better mind your own business before Marlin makes you the main attraction. He may be my own personal tormentor, but when it comes to whacking the likes of you, he's a straight-up virtuoso, if you catch my drift. Alright, let's not push our luck here. I was just leaving. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. A stabber in dark alleys. I stumbled over a victim of a violent murder on Main Street. They say it's the work of the Arkham stabber. At the scene, a hobo suddenly turned to me, as if in a trance, and said, "Your path crosses with the dead one. This simple flight of a soul will uncover more." What could it mean? Does the killer have some connection with my search? If so, learning the victim's identity would be a good place to start. And then we've got two potential leads. We've got that detective at the Old Eel. And we've got the Essex Hotel, which is actually right next to us. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, we'll do a quick sweep for loot, then we'll swing by Honest Bill's to resupply, and after that, we'll go investigate the Essex Hotel. We'll save Detective Wilkins for next time. I guess we should do some quick trading with Rathsack while we're down here. Now, originally I was actually going to sell most of the junk items that we found. Now that we can craft, though, we actually want to keep most of this stuff. We can afford to get rid of a few things, though. We definitely won't need that old money. Alright, I guess that's it. Let's grab a couple of lockpicks. We're definitely going to need those. And let's get over to Honest Bill's. I'm pretty sure we ate the last of our rations. Huh. Well, that's peculiar. Lots of options here. What you first took for a statue is actually the petrified corpse of Bill, who was frozen forever in the exact moment of his agonizing death. The rapidly drying beeswax became his burial shroud. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Guess he had an Aspera 22 on him. Interesting. And black ectoplasm. I don't think I've seen that before. Black ectoplasm. This repulsive black goo is all that remains of the souls of the damned. Unfinished deeds in this world are the only thing keeping their tainted souls from burning away completely. Use for enhancing spells. Intriguing. The man smiles silently. Behind the bars is a stern-looking man who looks deeply dissatisfied. Although he looks to be in his 60s, his presence invokes respect and fear. Hey, are you here to buy something or just wasting my time? Who are you? Name's Joe Clements. That's Mr. Clements to you. I am someone you shouldn't be curious about. Former jeweler for the Cordelinis. Current fucking grocer of Arkham. Cordelinis? You live in a cave or something? The ruling family of Chicago. The barons of the underworld. You came here from Chicago. Such brilliance. How did you make the connection? Say, are you here to buy something or just wasting my time? What's that wax statue doing over there? Ah, you mean Honest Bill? He's dead. But they kept him around for decoration. Turned him into a statue. He used to own this place, see? Until he crossed Wax Face. Can you guess how they did it? Poured boiling wax over him from head to toe. You should have heard the screams. That's enough, or you want more details? A statue of wax and flesh. I could feel traces of the dark energy trapped inside. If you want to pose like those fucking fanatics from north of the lake, then go talk their heads off instead. Now, you buying, or should I ask Charlie to make you leave? Is Charlie the smiling blonde fellow? Charlie is the smiling blonde fellow who can fill you with more lead than you need to build a fucking boat. Well, when you put it that way, I'm buying. Now, Honest Bill's is the closest we've got to a general merchant. He's got weapons, an assortment of hats, some basic tools. We could definitely use that lantern. A small assortment of books. And a small assortment of junk. He's also got food and supplies, but for some reason they're not showing up on any of these tabs. How about a discount, Mr. Clements? How about a smack in the face from my friend Charlie here? Message received. Well, shoot, I was hoping that one speechcraft would be enough to succeed there, but I guess I forgot to take our mediocre present score into account. That's fine, we'll work with what we've got. You know what? I think we can live without this Aspera 22. Sonia's already got one, and there's not much point in giving it to Trench. In exchange, we'll definitely grab one of those lanterns. And we're going to need some kerosene to actually keep it lit. There it is. And I guess we'll pick up some food, too. Alright, I think we're good for now. Let's go check out the hotel. The plaque reads, Nehemiah Crane, Captain of Perseverance. This captain's bronze likeness now overlooks scenes of reckless debauchery, in rueful contrast to how the pious man himself once set forth selflessly for the shores of the New World. Whoops, sorry. We will talk to you later. A spruce man in his 30s is standing at the reception desk of the dilapidated hotel. From his well-groomed mustache to his sharp suit, he signifies self-esteem that's hard to come by these days. Bonjour, monsieur. Under more normal circumstances, I'd be delighted to welcome you to the Essex Hotel, one of New England's preeminent establishments. The man pauses to clear his throat. Leaving aside the fact that there is no New England anymore. But, regrettably, I see you are not one of the ladies and gentlemen approved by Monsieur Wax. I may only accommodate citizens who appear on the guest list. May I ask your name? He straightens his bow tie. I am Etienne Lafayette, the concierge of Hotel Essex. I have proudly performed this duty for more than 15 years. A note of heartbreak seeps into his voice as he says this. I also had to take on the role of manager after the unfortunate demise of Monsieur Phillips, and of receptionist. We are a little bit understaffed these days, as you can see. What happened to the previous manager? Let's just say he chose the shortest route out of Arkham, monsieur. He clears his throat again and continues calmly. Rat poison, along with Madame Phillips and the little ones. I do not recommend it. There were, you know. He makes circular motions around his mouth. Red bubbles on their lips, like a poorly blended parfait. I see. Is there anything else I can help you with? You seem to take your job very seriously. Monsieur, do you know what is worse than a town doomed to extinction? A concierge without a hotel. The Essex is my life, and unless she kicks me out herself, I do not plan to abandon my responsibilities. Is there anything else I can help you with? How can I get on the list? I'm afraid I cannot answer this question, monsieur, for I do not know. They send a new list every once in a while, and I arrange the accommodations. But he clears his throat. Common traits of the guests seem to be excessive drinking, vandalizing hotel property, and every other type and combination of misconduct, including the occasional murder of other guests, committing ritual sacrifice, and so on. Etienne straightens his bow tie before continuing. Perhaps you wish to participate in such endeavors, monsieur? I see. Another thing. But, regrettably, I may only accommodate citizens who appear on the guest list. It seems the approved guests are not especially respectful of the establishment. Etienne gazes across the once grand lobby, with melancholy plain in his eyes. We have seen better days, monsieur, this hotel and me. We've seen better days. Now, what, within my humble powers, can I help you with? I need some information about a former guest, a young man named Julian. He clears his throat imperiously. The privacy of our guests is inviolable, monsieur. I have to admit the accommodations may have taken a slight downturn recently, but definitely not to that level. He's dead. Oh, that is unfortunate. Not quite unexpected, though. I find a dead guest in one of the rooms almost every day. I'm trying to stop the Arkham stabber, and I need to know more about the victim. Adian self-importantly straightens his bow tie before continuing. If that is the case, I think I can make an exception. He opens the hotel register and begins leafing through its pages. Julian, no surname given, checked in with 3 others. He plays with his mustache as if trying to tease the information from it. I remember those men coming to the hotel. It was right before the Black Day. I recall I was suspicious of them right away. They did not at all seem the caliber of gentlemen we prefer here, moping about the lobby like clueless immigrants straight from the ship. But they paid for 2 king-size rooms in advance. He continues looking through the register. Sometime after the Black Day, though God knows how long, Julian and the one with the Irish accent left the hotel. The others carried on here. What are the names of these others you mentioned? He reads them off. Salvador, Abel, and Keelan. The late Monsieur Julian seems to have arrived with them. Which one had the Irish accent? I cannot remember, Monsieur, but if I were to guess, I would say Keelan. It's certainly the most Irish of the bunch. May I inspect the room where Julian stayed? Adian straightens his bow tie while looking away. I would not recommend it, Monsieur. Carry-On Jack is currently residing in room 303, and I don't think he's planning on checking out anytime soon. He is celebrating the crime, what he did to Betsy Ross. Heartbreaking to think of it. As reward for his service, Waxface granted Monsieur Carry-On with unlimited copperhead and 2 of his personal courtesans. Betsy Ross. You haven't heard of her? He clears his throat and continues in a sad tone. In the first months of Monsieur Wax's reign, a few of Arkham's bravest men and women, or dumbest according to some, openly defied the mob. They turned vigilante, masked guerrillas who risked their lives to bring some hope back to Arkham. These rebels were hunted down one by one, until only Betsy remained, a fearless woman who wore Old Glory for her disguise. For months, she showed the courage the rest of us lacked, and offered hope of the justice we all wished for, until Carry-On Jack shot her in the head and left her body to the ghouls. And that, Monsieur, is how hope finally died in Arkham. To sacrifice oneself can be a powerful ritual to plant the seeds of strong emotion in others. He clears his throat in a disturbed manner. I'm sure you'll get along well with our guests from the cult, Monsieur. They're on the 4th floor. Just be careful they don't plant anything in you. Right? Sorry. What is Copperhead? It's a special whiskey the mob produces. They put a live copperhead snake inside a full bottle, and the serpent bleeds its poison into the liquor while drowning. He clears his throat. I know it doesn't sound very tempting, but they actually drink it, Monsieur, believing it will make them manly or something. Definitely not a vintage any respectable sommelier would recommend. And this Carry-On Jack can drink plenty of it. Naturally. In fact, he claims to be the copperhead drinking champion. He is dangerously boastful about it. Interesting. We'll keep that in mind. Thanks for your time. Okay, let's take care of these level ups and then we'll start going room to room. Now, we're obviously going to put a point into a cult. we need to keep boosting that until it maxes out at 10. As for our other skill point, I actually kind of regret investing in speechcraft, given our relatively low presence score. But we're committed now, so we'll put one more point there, just to make sure we can clear the easy skill checks. As for our perk, we're not really a combat character, so we'll want something defensive or utilitarian. Well, nothing's really jumping out at me here, so let's just go with Occult Scholar. That'll make it easier to learn new spells and decipher artifacts. Then we'll have the Outsider boost his medicine and melee. Whoops, melee, not occult. A trench has us covered as far as the occult goes. I think we'll also go with Aura of Repulsion. As we've seen, the Outsider is pretty fragile, so if we can direct more attacks towards Eduardo, then all the better. Then we'll have Sonia boost her science and firearm skills. And as far as perks go, she's only got one choice, so that makes it easy. Okay, let's get back to it. And then I told him, "Come on, girls, it's time to earn your SIGs." Lovely. Well, let's see what we can do here. Yeah, that seems about right. The desiccated corpse that died crawling across the floor looks like it spent its last breath trying to defend its most precious possession. Books. Well, if you're going to die in New Arkham, I guess dying for knowledge is a pretty good reason. A History of Arkham. Penned by a certain F.C. Ashley of Miskatonic University, this book offers a rare perspective on Arkham's founding. The careful historian will note Ashley's account depends more on whispered myths than objective records. Captain Nehemiah Crane, who was a wealthy follower of Reverend Nicodemus Arkham, was also a shrewd trader and veteran of the Atlantic crossing. Taking note of the rapid economic expansion underway in the New World, Crane suggested to the Reverend that the colonies would be an ideal place for his Puritan flock to escape the authority of the Anglican Church. Rumor has it that upon hearing this idea, the old man smiled and told Nehemiah he finally understood the augury of the white sails which had appeared to him in his dreams. 6 months later, in the year 1632, the Perseverance embarked for North America with a full complement of devout emigrants. Nicodemus, also called the Elder Pilgrim, fell terminally ill during the voyage and was taken by his maker without ever setting eyes on the wild shores of the New World. It is still rumored amongst sailors that when he was lying in his deathbed, struck down with a hellish fever, he warned Nehemiah of the devils waiting beyond the boundaries of this world. As the colonists finally sailed up what is today known as the Miskatonic River and arrived on the infertile but free lands that glaciers had ruled for so long, the name for the new settlement had already been chosen: Arkham. The statue of founder and first mayor Nehemiah Crane can be seen in Independence Square, and the humble grave of spiritual leader Nicodemus Arkham in Hangman's Hill Cemetery. Captain Nehemiah Crane and the very first settlers of Arkham, 1632. Intriguing. It's hard to say if any of this has any bearing on what we're currently doing, but a little extra knowledge certainly can't hurt. Pardon me. The overall profusion of portraits such as this, which always seem to depict the owlish visages of Arkham's Puritan fathers, only serves to accentuate the invariance of the town's existence. Oh, my. Oh, a spell manuscript. The Spit of Al-Razi. Conceived at the improbable junction of alchemy and humoral theory, this venomous spell shockingly asserts the extent of medieval Islamic transmutation magic. So, in short, it turns your spit into poison. Neat. A rather unnerving occult symbol has been drawn on the floor of this filthy and disorderly room, constituting the evidence that its tenants could have had motives other than mere self-indulgence. Some kind of a ritual took place in this room. You may try to decipher the purpose and meaning behind it. Sure, why not? Your careful scrutiny suggests that a sex magic ritual was conducted here, a pragmatic attempt given that no child has been born since the Black Day. Something strikes your interest amid the fetish objects laid on the floor. You have gained Venus of Willendorf. Interesting. Venus of Willendorf. Some say that this figurine of a fertility goddess was reputed to heal those who touched it, while others claim that the Blessed Ones underwent considerable behavioral changes by the cycles of the moon. No idea what it actually does, but it sounds like faster healing at the cost of some sort of mental disorder. We'll have to research it. I thought he said the cultists were on the 4th floor. To Agatha. You shall not, under any circumstance or by any assessment of your own, remove or displace these garbs from this place of storage, not even for cleaning them. It's essential that you do so, for their untimely absence will certainly create an inconvenient situation in consideration of my duties for tonight's ceremony. J. Sorry, they're mine now. Next time, try locking your door. New artifact and some cultist robes. Not bad. Almost out of time here, but let's push on a little farther. You can hear someone, probably a man, sobbing behind the locked door. Let's give it a shot. The person inside shouts, "Leave me alone!" Fair enough. Looks like the stairway is blocked. And that would be Carry-On Jack's room. Let's not go there just yet. The outsider wants to talk. Alright. As soon as you enter the room, the outsider turns a cautioning look upon you. As a creature who spent almost all of his existence in such environs, I say with complete certitude, this place is haunted. Is there something specific I should be worried about? Whoever or whatever entity is bound to this room, let us hope that we do not become the target of its wrath from beyond the grave. Thanks for the warning. Well, let's have a look around. Some sort of gentleman ghost. Ah, yet another spell manuscript. The Book of Law. Crowley prophesied the coming of the Aeon of Horus within the Book of Law, which served as a purveyor of Thelema, a new chapter in the moral and spiritual evolution of men. Nice, we finally got a book we can actually recover sanity with. Blood Circle. The occultists of the time of the Inquisition conducted many protection rituals, whereof but a few are known to have been recorded, such as this one. Well, that one might actually be useful. We've got a lot of things we have to research here. The clinging dampness that pervades the room has embrittled the frame of this enormous bed. Even without your knowledge in the forbidden, you would have felt that something is wrong with this room. It is clear that an undead entity inhabits this cold, dank place. Would you like to summon the spirit? Well, that sounds like a terrible idea. But it is basically what we're here for. Alright, well, we're past the 40-minute mark, so let's hit the pause button for now. I do want to conjure up that spirit, but I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I guess we'll find out next time. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Stygian, Reign of the Old Ones, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official YouTube channel, the official Facebook page, the official Twitter feed, or the original crowdfunding campaign over on Kickstarter. Links are in the description.